I'll second that.
Second by John Purdy.
Good.
All those in favor say aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
Thanks.
Opposed? 4 affirmative. And the special meeting on July 16th.
Motion to approve the special meeting on July 16th.
And second.
Second by Dennis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 affirmative. Have a motion to approve and ratify the fund report and docket today's date.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John Purdy.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second by
Get him on
Dennis.
the books.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 affirmative. Old business, the only thing on there is golf cart usage. And there's really not much going on that right now. The only thing that we're doing right now is Joe is contacting Franklin and Bargersville police departments just to see what they've had as far as any kind of interaction or issues with it. Honestly, we're coming down to the tail end of the season for people using them if they want to. And people are using them whether we allow it or not. So if we don't do anything with it, we already have an ordinance that we did 3 years ago that prohibits them. So unless somebody wants to change their mind, you know, I don't think we need to do anything with it probably till winter. And then if we do decide to make a change, then I think that would come in force if they're allowed for the springtime. So,
Yep.
questions, comments, discussion? Okay. Angela, any other old business? Lee? John?
So would Gradison be old business, I suppose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had asked, we've been told for 6 weeks now they're gonna push over those foundations and fill them in, and they haven't. At what point do we do something about it and just bill them or file a lien?
So I think all of you were copied on some email correspondence that I had with Radisson earlier in the week. I got a response that wasn't very satisfactory from Adam Mears on Monday. I'm told that our vendor, John and I were just talking about this, and I'm told that our vendor is mobilizing down there this week, and we have dirt being delivered soon. I will keep you posted. He did respond, and that's the response, and it's something. The dirt has been delivered. That's something. I wrote back to him within minutes after that response, thank you. A more detailed response like it will be done by the end of the week would be more effective. We are contemplating an unsafe building order and emergency abatement action, all of which will result in higher costs for Gradison and a strained relationship. Please, Adam, make it happen, is what I wrote. He did not respond to that email. And that was Tuesday at 8:46 a.m. It's Wednesday evening. I guess we have the authority to abate that condition under the unsafe building law on an emergency basis. And we also can enter onto the property and abate a nuisance under the nuisance law, but that requires a more formal 10-day notice. A practical problem we have right now is I don't think we really have anybody appointed as the enforcement authority under unsafe building law. Because since Bob Downey left, we have an agreement with Gradison to do some of what Bob was doing. We have our GRW. You said Gradison. Oh, GRW, thanks. We have our police department enforcing our nuisance ordinance, but we really haven't instructed our police department to enforce the unsafe building law. And that's a little different, that it does sort of require, the term under the law is the enforcement authority. That's just state statute. And then the hearing board, the board that actually hears any appeals or someone to whom an unsafe building order is issued can request a hearing, and in some cases a hearing is required, and we have a board that hears those cases. I think we still have that, although it's been a long time since that board's come together. But I think if we want to use the unsafe building law to enter onto the property and abate this on an emergency basis, I think we're going to have to appoint someone to act as the enforcement authority under that body of law to actually issue that order. And I think it can't be me, because I really then, if that's not done, take on the role of representing the board, not that individual. As it turns out, I think Matt had some communication with someone who he's contemplating may take on some of these responsibilities, and maybe that responsibility too, but we don't have a person in place right now. If we want to be able to do that, say Monday or something, if they don't finally get these things filled, I think it might be a good idea for you tonight to designate someone to act as the enforcement authority under the unsafe building ordinance until further notice. And I don't know who that should be. I think it could be Matt.
Well,
I think it could be our police department.
since
Joe, you're doing the same thing you're doing now. It's just under a different ordinance, but it's acting in the same way. It's no different than you enforcing the nuisance ordinance, except I don't think we want our police department to be in that role in any long-term basis, because it really does relate to typically the conditions of buildings. And sometimes you have to call in a structural engineer, and we tend to, in the past, have had that be somebody who has some experience sort of as a building inspector, which is outside the scope of, I think, what you should be asked to do. And I think it's really a bit unconventional for the police to do that. But we may have an immediate need to enforce our unsafe building ordinance. So,
since we have an extremely capable fire marshal
that's fine too.
that does basically
Absolutely.
goes into all of our businesses now, and from what I understand,
If you're willing to I guess you could appoint our fire marshal as our unsafe building enforcement authority for now. This is all kind of dynamic and fluid, and we'll see what the next several weeks or months hold. But to have someone in place to be able to address these holes in the ground that are in part the result of the fire department having burned them, and despite what Adam Mears said the other night, which was just infuriating, that he thought the fire department was going to do more to to fill these foundations, that would be just fine. And again, if this isn't a long-term appointment, it's just that if the council is wanting to have the option available to the town to enter on and abate this nuisance because Braxton doesn't get it done in the next 3 or 4 days, we have to have somebody who writes that order. And as it turns out everywhere else, I end up writing the order in collaboration with the enforcement authority and see to it that it gets properly served. We just have to have somebody wearing that hat, okay?
do you? I mean, you go out to all the businesses as it is now, and you see the unsafe buildings and all the other stuff that goes on. I mean, does that kind of fit in your wheelhouse, or?
To an extent, actually, it does. Just based on a lot of things that I've already witnessed in the last 8 months of being here. It is something I would entertain. I would ask at this time if it'd be possible if we could speak later on after the meeting perhaps, or at another time suitable. I'd like to find out a little bit more about what's expected. I don't have any issue doing it. I'd just like a little more information, but.
I think I think we have a very, very short term, but maybe urgent need.
Yeah.
To have
There's
this
two properties.
appointment made with regard to this specific condition on this specific property only. And that, I think what's gonna happen is, the town's gonna designate somebody else to be the enforcement authority on the unsafe building law on a continuous basis in a relatively near future.
If we think that this structure in question poses that great of a threat, then yeah, absolutely, I could step into that.
Okay.
As you say, that's interim, we could go out and make the call on this and.
Well, and you know the condition and you know what it is, and there are burned foundations that are holes in the ground that are attractive nuisances, and they have not done it on the speed that they said they would. And if all this works out like we hope in the next day or two, the problem's going to be resolved.
That's fine.
If it isn't, what I'd like to be able to do is get a hold of you on Monday and say, this isn't done. Do you think it is a condition that warrants abatement on the part of the town because it poses an emergency to the public safety? And if so, I would work with you to draft an order and see to it that it gets served. And we would arrange, the town can arrange then either with its own means or to hire a contractor to come in and fill that thing. And I, at that point, wouldn't have any problem with us taking a piece of equipment using their dirt. And they'd actually end up being delighted to do if we did. But they're going to get charged for it. And they're going to get fined for it. But all that then lands on me.
All right.
All right? I just can't wear that hat.
Understood.
Do we need
So
to
I
take
guess the
some
only thing we would do
formal
is if
action?
he's willing, the council would move tonight to make that appointment until further notice. That would be it.
Okay. Someone want to make the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. John Purdy,
I'll second it.
John Shalotski. Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Thanks for the willingness.
And I think I agree with you. If there's not something done by Friday, end of day, then we have to.
I think I will probably,
gone a
if it's
long
all
way.
right, send another email to Adam to say, we see dirt has been delivered. I'm writing sort of as a courtesy to let you know that if this isn't done by the end of the week, you should expect emergency action to be taken by the town and a fine to be imposed. So,
Do you guys have the equipment? You feel like you could do that yourself, or would we need to look for a contractor?
I'd have to look at it, but, well, we've got the mini excavator, I guess. The biggest thing's gonna be hauling the debris off, is gonna be the big issue on our end.
does that need to be done? I mean, we talked about filling it, we talked about fencing them, I think.
I mean, we can go in and fence it if that's what you want. I mean, I think that would be,
Yeah.
if.
To me, that would,
Just construction fence, if that's.
yeah,
What we're talking now, I can do that whenever.
okay.
Yeah, because one of the things that I'm worried about is our own liability for our own people.
Right.
Because, yeah, that's pretty specialized stuff right there. Wreck-It Ralph over there can pretty much take anything down. But, I want to make sure that we're not exposing them to.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it. I don't think that activity is beyond what our employees are insured for doing every day anyway. I don't think that it's,
I'm thinking about actual injury.
huh?
I'm thinking about actual injury. I don't
Right.
want an employee hurt. And
No,
that's why I said
I don't either, but I don't think it's beyond the scope or more dangerous than what they do regularly anyway.
That could be true.
I think on a liability side, what concerns me more is we've talked about this now in open meetings a few times and made demands on this property owner to take care of it. And at some point, we're giving them too much leniency where someone does get hurt, child get hurt, and we come back. The town knew about this. You hear about the only time you really can hold a public agency in Indiana liable is if they have been aware of a condition that poses a danger and have not acted reasonably to try to address it, to make it safe. I think we have, but if we let this go another 30 days or something, then we don't have, we don't really have much of a response to someone claiming that you allowed this condition to exist for too long. And that's what we're brushing up against.
That's a fair point.
Right.
Well, and I've driven by, but I've not seen like the holes because I'm driving. I'm aware there are holes there, but I've not seen like a massive amount of debris or anything. Wouldn't our only responsibility be to abate the problem? And if they have to dig it all back out to get the debris out, then that would be their.
Yeah.
We're correcting a safety concern,
We are.
not cleaning up their mess.
And I got to say, people can claim whatever they want and to take a different view of it. I guess I think that fencing around these open foundations is probably sufficient action on the part of the town.
Okay.
Would it be better for it to be filled and graded level and all that kind of stuff? It would. But I think for the town to meet whatever kind of burden would be imposed on a public agency to make a property safe, to fence it and make it more difficult for someone to fall into it or wander onto the property, it is sufficient from the town standpoint.
Can I clarify with Lee? We appointed Carrie.
Yes.
For what title?
Carrie is the enforcement authority under the town's unsafe building law.
Okay,
And that's it's kind of a term of, not term of art, it's a defined term under the ordinance and the statute.
I'm supposed to specify that it's just for this particular incident, not indefinitely.
Until further notice.
Until further notice.
Okay.
Well, I guess which is always the case, but I think what we're contemplating is that this will be very short term.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. I think that's a good way to just say it. You're not offended, Joe, right? You're not going to be territorial about this. Okay.
I'm always glad to help.
I know. It doesn't. I know you are. I'm teasing you, but it really does not make sense to me that. I mean, this is a bit specialized and a bit unique to the condition of generally, mostly buildings, and that's not what you guys are supposed to have an expertise in, right? So.
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't teach us that idea.
So. Thanks.
Old business?
Nope.
John, do you have any old business?
I certainly don't.
Joe? Old business? Do you have any old business?
No, sir.
See, Matt. New business, Whiteland Road speed limit. I think you're ready to handle that.
Yeah, so Dwayne and I got to studying on this a bit, and we have an ordinance that sets the speed limit on all roads in town at 30 miles per hour. And we annexed in Whiteland Road. And so, we were thinking about when we need to adopt an ordinance to set the speed limit. I think we have an ordinance to set the speed limit. It's not enforceable until it's posted. So I think if the council wants the speed limit on Whiteland Road to be 30 miles per hour, then we don't need to do anything. I think this isn't an ordinance or legal thing, but it's going to be an adjustment. Folks are going to have to learn that speed limit is reduced and by a considerable amount. It's 50 now. Folks are used to going 50. If we go out there tomorrow and just start writing tickets, sort of blindsiding people, that's not going to be very well received. So I think there needs to be some strategy for informing the community that the speed limit's now lower. And I don't know how is the best to do that. Maybe the Daily Journal would write in an article that the speed limit in the future, the speed limit will be reduced to 30 miles per hour, but the town is not yet enforcing it and has not yet posted signs. I don't know whether to put on the website, to put on a utility bill. I think Joe, we don't have one of those signs, right, to tell,
No.
yeah. If we did, this would be a great time to use it, to put the signs up and decide we're not gonna, actually write a violation for 30 days, but to stop some people and say, hey, you're not gonna get a ticket, but we're using this as an opportunity to let you know that the speed limit now is 30 miles per hour. Have a nice day, something like that. But we need it to be kind of a graceful transition, I think. People are gonna come in here on fire over this, right?
Well, I can also talk with Wayne, so I know LTAP has, I'll call it rental equipment, there's no cost to it, but your speed signs and they flash.
Yeah, that's what
You
I mean.
know, whenever we go to start that process, we could look at putting that stuff up, just to give another indicator saying,
Yeah.
hey, you're over what it's supposed to be, just to kind of help out, I guess, before you really.
Yeah, if those things are available, I think they're really effective. They are on me. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think those are wonderful devices. So,
Yeah, when Dwayne gets back from vacation, I'll have him.
what do you think, guys? Do you?
Signs, right?
Yeah, you know how like your speeding, it's digital, so it tracks what your speed limit is, and if you're going over, it'll
So you start.
we have some that aren't quite set up yet of our own, but we can also, if we need it sooner before we get ours set up, we can get the ones that we don't have, like we've done before, so. I'll have him, when he gets back on vacation, be with you guys to see when it looks like we'll start doing that type of stuff, and how long you want it out before.
I mean, are you all okay with letting them sort of figure out how to do it? Okay. But I don't think I need any action from you to set the speed limit at 30, because we've got that ordinance that does that now. And if at any point you decided you wanted it to be different, or any other road to be different, then we need to adopt an ordinance to change it.
Angela, other new business? Lee?
No, I was gonna talk about the unsafe building, and we've got that, so no.
John?
No.
Nope.
John?
Nope.
Joe? New business?
No new business.
Steve? Matt?
So, yes, I do, it should be quick, I know you and I kind of discussed this, so we had a lady come in, that is requesting a sewer credit on her bill. I believe it's 155 South Lane was the address, it is a rental property. She had talked with the landlord to have the water leak fixed. It wasn't fixed in a timely manner. We've already gave the 2 credits that we're allowed to per our ordinance. It looks like the repair has been fixed now, after talking with the landlord. Looks like they'll need a credit for this month, and it'd probably be a partial credit of some sort next month, or a smaller credit, I guess, next month. They're using about 3 times what they're using. And I will say, so there was, with the landlord, there were the landlord himself actually passed away in the middle of this, and his son was taken over, so I think there was some maybe communication that was kind of lost of who to contact and things like that, and why it took so long for the repair, because normally this landlord's been in his property and taken well care of, so just ask you, because we've already gave them the 2 credits. I think it requires your guys' approval to give them additional credits past those, so.
Any problem with that?
I don't have a problem.
No
with it.
problem at all, especially under the circumstances of passing away.
Okay. I will let the reason officer know.
That doesn't require a motion.
Well, it'd probably be best, yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to allow the additional sewer credits.
Okay. Second?
A second.
Second by John Purdy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Okay, legislative business, ordinance 2025-08, fee schedule for fire prevention inspections.
Yeah, so, we've talked about this. I think Dave may have emailed to all of us a notice of violation form that includes a schedule of fines that owners of property in violation would be subject to. I have incorporated that into an ordinance so that we actually are making it a local regulation of the town that has the force of a violation that can be enforced and a fine that can be imposed and collected. And so I present it to you and contemplate that it's introduced tonight and then adopted in September. If you were so inclined that you wanted to adopt it tonight, you could by deciding to take that vote. But we typically try to follow the introduction and adoption format. But that's what it does, and that's what you have in front of you.
Okay. Questions? Is it something we want to adopt tonight or put it on the agenda for September?
So we follow the normal process.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's not something that we have to
Okay.
rush.
Yeah.
If I could, please, I would ask that you consider adopting it tonight, but here's my reasoning why. For the last 8 months, I've been in every building that I can possibly get in thoroughly. And I haven't really had any opportunity to enforce violations per se, but I have tried to educate all the occupants and owners. And I found that on several, if not many occasions, as I try to explain to them, people will put this off continually, even when it is to the level of a serious fire code violation. Some of these violations, the ones that I had listed on this form, are what I refer to as the usual suspects. This is probably the bulk of what I've seen in all the buildings here. And there are some that I could have easily, by law, shut the occupancy down without question. But I think perhaps, given the situation, I may have been a little bit too lenient by extending time period after time period of, hey, get this corrected for me. And to be fair, much of this really wasn't anything that would take more than half of a day, with few exceptions. Exit signs without proper lighting on them and so forth and so on. I would say we've dodged some bullets in terms of the problems that have created not just fires, but multiple fatal fires throughout, history, and some here in Indiana that fire code's based on. I did speak with Chief Ryerson. He and I had a conversation about instituting fines, and I think hopefully we've got a lot corrected. In fact, I'm sure of it, but I still have some properties where I have great concerns. Chief Wire was with me about a week ago as I went around, and even people that I told not even 2 weeks ago, please don't do this, as they're either remodeling or reformatting their new occupancy, they went right ahead and did it. And it's in direct violation of the code. And all I can say to them is, okay, I'll be back in 30 days, here's your paper, and then that 30 days, I hope that nothing occurs. So I would be happy to entertain any questions you have. I do think that the way this is written, if they see that there potentially could be a fine coming their way, it might change their mind and help them maybe put a little more pep in their step at correcting this stuff. And quite honestly, gentlemen, these code violations, the ones that scare me, are the ones where exits are completely blocked in some of these buildings. Completely. You're not going to move things out of the way. Not if there's a fire. And those are the things that keep me up at night based on the number of fatal fires that I've responded to in my career, that a lot of these code violations we're responsible for. I understand the process. I just simply wanted the opportunity to present this in front of all of you tonight. That's all.
Questions?
No, I think in light of that, if you feel like there's some truly unsafe things that we can't get rectified, they need to be, I don't know that waiting another 30 days makes sense in that light. So I'd be in favor of both introducing and passing it tonight.
I would too, because they're the professionals in this realm, okay? And if we have a danger that's imminent, like some of these that he's explaining, I'm more than willing to pass it.
Well, I think it goes back to what Lee was talking about earlier when we were talking about these two properties, or the property over here. We know there's an issue. He's told us there's an issue. Even in good faith, if we say, well, in September, we're gonna pass this. You know, somebody's child is over there and they can't get out of whatever building it is because of a fire or because it's blocked. We knew about it, we're liable. So I think.
Well, but it's always been the case that the fire code is a part of the town code and has been for years. There is a general penalty section in the town code that tells us what the penalty is in the absence of a specified penalty for a particular code violation. That's there. This makes it a whole lot better,
Yeah,
and what it does is gives Terry a form that he can use to cite a violation and list a schedule of fines, which I think is much more effective than what we have now.
Yeah.
So I'm all about you going ahead and adopting it if you're comfortable doing that. But if you don't, he can still write it under a general penalty and impose a penalty as it stands. The teeth aren't real sharp.
No, because
And
right
it's
now
not real
what's
quick to
happening is
communicate,
he's
so.
going out and telling these people, you're in a violation multiple times. They're saying, okay, thank you for the piece of paper.
I mean, you don't have to go back 30 days. You can,
Right.
a week. It has to be done a week.
Well, I think about this two different ways. Number one, the timing. Passing it, we've got these things going straight and to the point. Number two, it gives it teeth. We're serious about fire safety in our community.
Well, and a certain firefighter made the comment to me before the meeting, we need to come up to the 2000s instead of the 80s. So it sounded like you wanted to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we both introduce and pass the ordinance tonight.
I'll second.
A motion by John, second by Chad. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Ordinance 2025-09, repealing the wheel tax.
Yeah, so we've talked about it. I drafted it and sent it to you in the event that you want to take action on it tonight and start the process of repealing it. We've got some time. You know, you met with Adam. It's a lot to digest. He talked about the wheel tax maybe being a way to generate some additional revenue for towns as the effective Senate Bill 1 is felt. I know John Purdy commented at the end of that, well, we really don't need to do anything now because we know these changes are coming, but they're not upon us. And I think John Perrin made the point that we can impose a wheel tax, and it doesn't have to be the maximum amount that the legislation authorizes. It can be a wheel tax for a lesser amount. And so we kind of walked away from that meeting with those comments having been made, but not a lot of discussion following those observations and comments. I guess in anticipation that you will make the decision to repeal the wheel tax, I went ahead and drafted an ordinance. It's real simple, right? That just says we're repealing what we did, and it's here, and it can be introduced tonight if you want it to be. If you're not ready to do that, it can stay in this holding pattern for a little while, but by the end of the year, certainly, and I'd prefer well before the end of the year, make your decision on this and take what action's needed. So
Well, when we passed it, it was because we thought it was going away at the county level. If we didn't,
We
therefore
wouldn't
we'd
capture
lose
the
that
money.
revenue. That's gone away. I don't know that I heard anything from Adam 2 weeks ago that makes me think this is imminent. We need to do it now. You know, we've passed a tax that we've not filed, therefore it's not in effect. I don't know why we wouldn't just repeal it. We can always go back and do it again if we feel like we need to. I don't, you know, I think what I hear Lee saying is we need to do something or it's going to go into effect, and I don't want it to go into effect.
And I would agree with you. You've stood firm on several different opportunities about not imposing more or additional taxes, and I like that approach and want to stick with that also.
Anything else?
I can do that too.
Well, then I'll make the motion to repeal it, and I'm fine with it being introduced tonight, being passed next month, which I think is the process. I don't think we need to suspend the rules.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5 affirmative. Lee, anything else?
I know, John, thanks.
Okay, that is everything on this evening's agenda. So at this time, the meeting is open to the public. If you have a question or comment, we ask for your name and address for the record.
I have a comment, I guess.
Yes.
Gary Trendenberg, 1082 Berlin Road. I'm a little disappointed. You were talking about the golf carts, and we're just now in August. It's almost at the end of the season. Well, what I'm thinking about is, no, it's not. Because we got Halloween coming up. And I know just by watching the news on TV, just by being in another community, these golf carts are out there. And then you have them out there with Halloween trick-or-treaters. And it just really concerns me that you're gonna put it off until spring. I think it needs to have more looked at, more, if you're gonna have them, at least make sure everybody knows what's expected. You know, you get a kid behind the wheel of one of those things and they've never even driven a car.
Are you in favor of the golf carts or you're against it?
I'm against them,
Okay.
but I'm not so far against them that if they were regulated in the right way, I could live with it. You know, it's something you can adjust to, but you just wanna make sure that it's not just willy-nilly everywhere.
3 years ago, we passed an ordinance that they are absolutely not allowed, period. Now, are they in town? You betcha, okay? And a lot of people say, well, why aren't the police doing anything? Well, you know what? They can't be here, there, and everywhere when there's one golf cart in my neighborhood and they're taking care of a robbery over somewhere else.
Exactly.
Okay, they are absolutely, according to our ordinance, forbidden. Okay, they're not allowed to have them. My thinking is, if we want to have them, and it's on the agenda that we were gonna talk about it, and there's nobody here that wants to, that's in favor of them, okay?
And I'll be honest, I'm fixing to move out of state here in just a few months. And when I was like, why bother? It's because if nobody else is gonna come in and talk about it, somebody needs to at least express something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thing, because I wanna know that this is gonna work. Because where I go to the next time, you guys have really, lit a fire under me, and I wanna make sure I'm involved with the next town that I live in, but I can't quit living in this town until I leave.
Sure.
So, and like you said, there's nobody else here, but, so I gotta speak for the
Okay.
ones that aren't here, I guess.
Yeah, well, right now, they are absolutely not allowed, okay? Now, it's like anything else, we've got a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, people who do 40, 50, or whatever, they're allowed to get away with,
Oh,
okay?
yes, yes, I understand that.
The only reason it was even brought up again was because they are more and more around, and there are municipalities around us that are allowing them. Whether we choose to change our ordinance or not, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and that's my thing, if they're gonna be, then we need to make sure everybody knows what they need to do. You just can't say, oh yeah, take your golf cart down the road. It's
No,
okay.
it will be, if, one of the, Dwayne sent me Speedway, Indiana just implemented a new ordinance. They are allowing them now. And it's one of the most stringent that I have ever seen. So that's why I spoke to Joe and asked him, because I want to know what other police departments, not necessarily, I don't care what their ordinance is necessarily. I want to know, are you having issues with these. Okay, they're allowed. Who's abusing the privilege? What are they doing? Because just my personal opinion, if we were to allow them, there better not be a 12-year-old out there riding one.
And
Because
I've
if,
seen that.
yeah,
And
you're,
I want there to be, I don't know, if they come down the road and they run over my mailbox or run into it, am I gonna be liable as a homeowner for their injuries because they hit my mailbox?
exactly.
Those are the things I'm more concerned about. I mean, you can learn to live with just about anything, but I wanna make sure I'm not gonna be held liable for something that they're doing, that they should be held liable.
Yeah. Well, and I've had another conversation with Joe about this, and he's assured me this is something that's absolutely not happening, because I know I've heard this from very reliable sources. There's other communities around that don't allow them either, but I've been told that their police officers, well, they wink and nod and we don't really see it. I had a concern, and I expressed my concern, and he said that absolutely does not happen here, nor will it happen here. So, again, they can't be everywhere,
No.
but
And then I think maybe if it was, everybody that, they got a golf cart, they learned immediately that this is the steps you have to go through.
Yep.
And that would keep the police from getting phone calls, hey, there's a golf cart, I get tired of that.
Yep. So the thinking right now is, right now they're not allowed. It's a maybe, but not a big, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. Because like I said, there's nobody here that says, hey, we really wanna do this.
And I think one of my other concerns is, and I've seen this with people who have gotten DUIs and lost their driver's license, they're driving these little scooters, mopeds, whatever you want to call them, and I know as long as they're under a certain CC, they don't have to have a license, they don't have to have a driver's license.
Yeah.
And I think that's another way that some people are gonna circumvent, and the last thing we need is a drunk in a golf cart.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I've seen that enough. So hopefully that helps answer your question, but right now they are absolutely not allowed. We have an ordinance on the books that says they're not allowed.
but it's not something you're just gonna push off until, I mean, either you're gonna say it's not and it's over, or you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna do it, and this is what we're gonna do.
Okay, let me clarify. Right now, they are not allowed.
Okay. I
Okay,
get that,
until there were to come a time where we said, okay, under these parameters, we're gonna change our ordinance. Right now, I don't see anybody up here that's chomping at the bit to say, we gotta change this now. Okay, my only thinking is when I pushed it off, as you said, it's not imminent, and it's not something that I think we have enough information on to make an informed decision that, yeah, we want to do this. So until we have that information and are convinced with, number one, our police department and our street department that, yeah, this is a viable option, right now, we're not changing it.
Good.
So I know you were concerned at the last meeting when we first talked about it, so. But anyone else? Yes.
D. Appleton, 103 Sawmill. As a little side note, I would like to see the golf carts, but I like the fact that you guys are doing your homework to make sure if you pass it, there's this, because sometimes that doesn't happen. So I appreciate holding off till spring or whatever to see what everybody else is doing and get more history so that you can write our ordinance to protect everybody. On that note, as you guys know, I'm here for property across the street that you guys have been talking about. Dirt did get delivered today. Chad told me yesterday at the town thing that I'll be gonna see dirt in a few days. Well, it was coming this morning. But I still got, and I know you guys are working on addressing the issues. Part of my thing is, this has been this way since May. And now we're gonna give this development company 2 or 3 more days. And I think one of you brought up, well, what if you guys have known about this problem? What if somebody's over there gets hurt? Because I'll tell you what, probably this evening or in the next few days, we're gonna see kids climbing on the dirt mats. I know we're going to. I did when I was a kid. Right or wrong, you did. We're kids. So we're still gonna have that issue there. So I don't understand why, when we've known about it, you guys have, sounds like some serious emails going through or phone calls. Why are we still giving him or her, whatever the development company is, Why are we still giving them a little bit more time? Why are we not saying now? Get it done now. We've been lenient. We're not gonna let you kind of keep going by. Are you gonna wait until somebody does get hurt in the next couple of days or whenever they decide to fill this in? That's just, you know, my thought there. It's because I live there. I sit outside, even in the heat, it's just enjoying to sit out there, and I see what I see. If you guys don't understand it, you are welcome to come to my house. I'll fix you dinner, I'll give you desserts, I'll give you hot cookies like the fire department does when they came to knock the house down. I would like you to see what I see, because it goes on.
Well,
So-
I can tell you this, just because I deal with not the development type company, but the companies that do that type of work. Right now, finding somebody to do that demolition and cleanup work, good luck. They're few and far between, because nobody has people. And I mean, it's Wednesday night. If we give them a deadline of Friday night, I don't think that's pushing the envelope. And because we've already said come Monday morning,
I've already sent an email to Ed Amirs while we're sitting here talking about it. I'm telling we're sitting in the meeting, it continues to be a hot topic. We appreciate the dirt being delivered. If it isn't done, they should expect the town to abate it first of the week and a sizable fine to be imposed. Yeah. That's what had been said.
the emails that Lee has sent have been pretty pointed. So it's not, you know, it's not one of those, okay, do this or we're gonna slap your hand.
No, that's what I've understood.
Yeah, no,
just that.
they've been pretty to the point.
And I'm
So,
glad for that.
yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Just the attitude that we saw the last time when they were here was kind of, okay, we're over this. And so we're holding them. Lee is doing a good job kind of staying in their face.
With all that being said, it's been appreciated that the ditches finally got mowed, and I'm sure the fire department's glad that now they can see the fire hydrant if they had to get to that fire hydrant, because you couldn't before. I mean, they know where it's at, but just that. It was, I realized, okay, that's zoned residential, correct? That whole property over there. My home is residential. What's the difference of my front yard not looking like that field does? What is the difference? Because if my yard wasn't mowed, and I didn't mow for several weeks, not because it was dry and I didn't want to kill the grass, or because it was too wet and I couldn't because I had a pond in my front yard, but if my front yard property looked like that across the street, would Joe or one of his guys be knocking on my door? Yeah, you would. So my question is, what's the difference? He's a male, as far as I know. I'm a female. I'm a property owner. He's a property owner of whatever color that consists of. I'm 66 years old. Where is his different than me? Where's the difference? Help me understand. I'm not trying to be that Karen. I just need to understand the difference. Yes, when it's been a cornfield, bean field, wheat field, yeah. But you know what? That's been upkept. They spray for weeds. You don't have what you have right now. I am tired of having to be careful when I have my little granddaughter over to play, wanting to play out in the driveway, okay, and I have a youngest one that's 8, not just the two you guys are, the older ones here. I have one that's 8, she wants to play out there in that driveway. I've got to be careful because snakes are coming across the road. We got possums coming across. I know they're supposed to be good, but I just don't like them. We got raccoons. I cannot allow her to be out there and play without having a watchful eye because of that bull crap across the street. If it was my property, you guys would be fine. So yeah, I'm kind of aggravated, but I need to understand what the difference is. When you guys explain to me the difference, then I won't be so aggravated. So what's the difference?
You know, we talked about this after the last meeting.
We did.
I think that they're the council members. I think property's transitioning from farm ground to a development. It's in the midst of that transition. It just is. I don't know of a situation where that doesn't result in crops not being planted and weeds growing in their place. I get it, it's unsightly. If this is, and I know, if it's as distasteful to you now as it is, as that builds out over the next 3 or 4 years, you're gonna hate it. You just are.
Oh, man.
Well, you just are.
In front of my property,
You
so
just
I'll
are.
do that.
The development's been approved, right or wrong. they're gonna build houses over there, they're gonna put streets in there, they're gonna put drainage facilities in there, there's gonna be equipment, there's gonna be dust, there's gonna be noise, there's gonna be partially built homes that are gonna be more of an attractive nuisance than these foundations are. Like every subdivision that's ever been built in the history of time, it attracts kids and it upsets people because that's the nature of the transition from farm ground to homes. It just is. I'll go, and when we talked the other night, you know, you talk about snakes and possums and raccoons and things. I wouldn't want them. I've had them at my house. I don't like them. I sometimes cause them not to be there in ways I'm not supposed to. But the last thing I would want is all of this territory, this wild weeds and brush and things that are their home to be destroyed, because I know they're going to come in greater numbers faster to my ground than if we leave that alone where they feel safe and protected. And so it's going to be a condition that's going to be objectionable to you, and it's going to be that way for a while. And to my mind, if it's corn or soybeans growing this high off the ground, they may be prettier to the eye than weeds, but it's vegetation growing on that ground like it has been for decades and decades and decades. And I think if they go in and start messing around, and they're going to soon because they're going to start clearing it all and building homes. And at some point, I guess all those critters are going to go someplace else where there's brush. I guess across the street, south, or to the creek, or wherever they're going to go. But I don't know that we're in a position to change what has been done. It's going to be transition from farm ground to development, and that's going to inconvenience everyone who lives near it for a while.
And I know
it just
that
is.
I've been through this in another town I lived in, something very similar, not quite in my front yard like this is. I'm aware of all that, okay? I'm very well aware of it. But I welcome you guys, come sit on my porch. Come sit on my porch, one night, 2 nights, 3 nights, and see all that I see over there, and see all that grown up over there, even if they got it part way down, you know, but we've got that. Yes, we're gonna have more critters because we're taking their food away from them.
Yeah.
We are, that's my biggest
And their home.
complaint on all this. Yeah, we're taking all that away from them. But they do have, unless they go ahead and take the rest of the so-called woods down, you know, they do have some, you know, they do. Some of them may kind of go away because since they mowed, the trash isn't every day that I'm picking up, it's maybe every couple days now. So that has kind of helped. So there may be some of that, and I understand, everything is a process, I understand that. I'm already very well aware that I might as well not wash my windows once they start, and not wash it until they're done, because otherwise I'm gonna be doing it every day. I might as well not worry about spraying the house off, because I'll spray it off now, and by tonight I'm gonna have to spray it off again. I'm aware of all that, but it just seems like, and maybe part of it is because these guys have, from my side, has pulled things over on everybody, not done what they want to do, tried to push it off on the fire department. It's not the fire department's job. They haven't done their stuff, so probably I'm a little bit more sensitive than maybe I should be.
We may all be.
But at the same time, I got to make my voice known. You know, I understand not a lot can be done, but there are some things that can be done. You know, light my fire under their behind and say, you're not getting 30 more days. You know, his example of these people he's been talking to them, you know, on their violations. They're a lot nicer than I would have been because after the first one, hey, here's what you need to do. I'm gonna be back sometime within the next 30 days. If it's not, here's your ticket. Because that's he's being pretty nice about it, nicer than what I would be, but I'm that person. So I understand we got a growing period. I understand that. I really do. It's just, I'm tired of all of this and what appears, no one cares about on past the ditch, And then what's gonna happen, I'm curious to see the metal and all the other junk. I don't think there's probably nothing really environmental because you guys would have taken care of that when they did their fire. But is that gonna get pushed in the hole and then buried over? And then what does that do over the course of time, you know, with things? I mean, is all that junk gonna be hauled off? A lot's been hauled off because we've had scrappers go over there and, you know, take several.
I think you should have the expectation that it's all going to be hauled off. Yeah.
Okay. I just had to be me and voice my still my concern about it all, you know?
Okay.
And I appreciate you guys listening, you know, I hear what Lee's saying, I hear all that, but hopefully you guys don't think, oh God, there's Dee again, here's another Karen. I'm not, I'm just wanting you guys to, oh, I'm sorry. I love you.
Coincidence.
Wow.
But that's just, you know,
You need to come up with a different name.
I guess.
Uh,
But I just, honestly, I wish you guys could see what I see
Well, if,
day in, day out.
honestly, what I said, if you see some of the emails that he is sending to Adam,
I'm glad,
he's not being friendly.
I'm glad,
And
and
he's-
I really am.
He's doing that at our request, so, yeah. Anything else?
No,
Anyone else? Being no other business, we are adjourned.
Now what?
It is not.
Now, look, this dummy's taking the mouse, so I'm out.
Just a concerned citizen, that's all.
have a good day.
She wants to get